All right, folks, welcome back. Thanks for watching. Go see if we can get this driver's door together today and get it reassembled and get it to wind the window and lock the locks and do all the stuff that a door is supposed to do, so stay tuned. Going to start playing around with the door. I might not get all through this in one shot, probably not. The trickiest part, at least for my research, is the seals that go up here that will scrape the window as it comes up and goes down. You have an adder seal, which is this guy, and if you can see, it's got a little bit of fuzzy on it, and this would lift up when the window's coming up and it just kind of goes down. That sits in on the outer part of the door. If I can get it set up right here, kind of like this, just kind of sits in there. Now it doesn't fit, it's a little long. I'll show you a close up here in a second what I'm going to do about that. And then you've got the inner waist seal, and this just essentially scrapes on the other side. So this also has a fuzzy thing in here and a couple pieces of wire. That's what the clips will go to, and that just kind of hangs on the inside a little bit, and that'll just get clipped in there. And the reason these are such a pain in the rear is because there's not a lot of room in there, and they make a special tool for it. These are all the clips for them. There's like 7 of each that go along the path here. But let me zoom in real quick and I'll show you what's going on here. So if you can see in the door, it's got like a little divot here, and there's a little divot here, and they match the divots that are there and there, if you can see that. So this fits good at the end here. I trimmed it down a little bit actually. You can kind of see the divot kind of match up. But then down here it overhangs a little bit. And obviously I'd rather have it long than short. So I'm just going to mark it and cut it and get it to fit in. And if you can see where the divot starts on the side and the piece of rubber comes out, that's I want to line the inner edges of that up and then cut on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that, and then probably play around with these clips for a little bit. I'll do that off camera because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of me complaining and trying to come up with stuff, and I'll come back when I have found a solution or have given up. So probably in what's the best described section of the book so far, believe it or not, is how you make the doors and put the doors together. Even calls out the weather stripping and all that kind of stuff. So essentially what it does, the inner weather stripping, it tells you to remove it, you perform a particular operation, and then to install it, you refit the weather stripping and then perform operation A2. And A2 operation over here is to refit the trim panel. So essentially my concern is that the glass, all the interior of the door, everything, should it be installed or should it be done with it out? So essentially what it's doing here is it's assuming that everything's installed and all you're doing is just replacing that weather stripping. So I'm not too worried about anything going bad as far as the the glass getting in my way or something like that as I move along. And it says refit the weather strip using an easily made tool as shown in figure 37. That's this guy over here, and it looks like a spoon that has different measurements on it. I'll show you that close up. So that's that guy, and depending on what seal you're using, the inner clips or the outer clips depends on how thick that difference should be. So I'm going to look in making that tool, but like I said, my major concern was that I should do this in a particular order, and I think I'm okay really in any order I want to do it in. So I'm going to do it without the glass installed, and then come back through at some point, obviously, and get all the guts installed. And as far as the clips go, because that tool is different, you can see that the clips are definitely different. This is for the inner waist seal here, and it's got like a little extra, see if I can do it on a white background for you, like a little extra clip in a clip almost. And this is for the outer waist seal. So the outer waist seal has little depressions in it that give you little cutouts. So that's going to be where all those clips fit up there, just kind of like that. And then the inner waist seal's got that extra clip in it and I'm assuming that's where this metal bar that's on there is that's gonna kind of carry into that, and then the clip itself is what's gonna slide up onto the door. So that's kind of how that goes. So just looking at these clips here, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the blue ones, or the outer clips, which is good because that's how many I ordered. And I think I also got 14 of the inner ones, so I guess they'll get 7 apiece too. Going to try to do the covering here on the top with my own covering, since the ones I bought were too short. So I've already folded it over here and made a little seam there like that. I've cut it, tracing it off both the door and the other piece that I have. Obviously going to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to essentially glue it and then wrap it around and tuck it in. My concern of tucking it in here is the clips, because I don't think the clips are going to be able to handle the door metal and the vinyl here without tearing the vinyl apart. So what I'm going to do, since this will be glued and I'm not really concerned about the clips holding this on, I'm going to cut slots much like the original piece of plastic, just to make room for the clips at various points throughout. But I got these magnets here, little disc magnets. They're pretty strong. They're going to help me hold this in place while I kind of get it all figured out. When I was doing my seat upholstery, I don't remember the viewer, but somebody recommended to me to get these little disc magnets, so I picked up 6 of them or so. Hopefully they're not so strong that I can't get them off the door, but they're pretty beefy. All right, so I got the 3 magnets on there. So now what I'm going to want to do here is fold this over as well. And what I think what I'll do is I'll just make it exactly even here with this seam. This seam over here comes in a little bit short. It's about 1/4 inch short of the edge of the door, and if you look at the pictures in the workshop manual and stuff, it shows that as well. So here's the workshop manual. You can see that there's a gap there between the edge of the trim and the door paint. So I'm going to try to leave that gap over here as well. And then the front side appears to go pretty much all the way. I don't think it bends over at all. I don't, it may. I don't really have another picture of that. But looking at the originals, or the ones that I purchased, you can see here that essentially would not bend over the door. There's a fold over here, and it's right there on that seam. So now I got this glued down. I'm going to wrap this underneath here and start making little cutouts for where the clips need to go, just so I can get that lined up. I'll get all that stuff cut out, and then I should be able to ready to move on to spraying and gluing it down. The vinyl is just not working out. I don't know if this stuff is too cheap or whatever, but it's too stretchy. It's moving around too much. So I'm going to revisit the strip here that I purchased. And the problem is, like I explained before, is it's a little short by about 1/4 inch or so. So the crease is actually in the vinyl is right here, but in the door it's up here. So I'm going to take the heat gun and see if I can reform this in some way. So the overall length is okay. It's just that crease here needs to get forward a little bit more. Hopefully I won't melt anything or destroy anything, but we'll see. Alright, well, didn't work out too bad. I think as long as I can get the adhesive to work alright, I think I'll be okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is tape the door off to protect it, because I'm going to spray the adhesive in there and probably turn it or flip it over in some way, see if I can get this thing fixed up so I can spray it on there. This, getting it in the inside lip here, is going to be the tricky part. worked out surprisingly well, actually. I don't know if you saw me. That adhesive, man, when that stuff kicks in, boy, it really kicks in. And I thought I was gonna get messed up, but so I'm happy with that. That looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'll put the trim piece that's in here. Get this tape off. Put the trim piece with the clips in here. See if I can make that work. And then the other side, and then cross my fingers here. I'll start getting the guts back in on the door. This here is the inner seal, or the weather strip as the workshop manual refers to it. So it's got a piece of fuzzy on here, and it hangs in with the fuzzy towards the glass, so it's upside down because the door's the way the door is positioned, and it goes in with this silver bar up top. And then these clips here, I'll show you this. I think I showed you this before. That clip here, it's got an extra little clasp on it, and that will attach on the weather strip on the non-fuzzy side, and then this portion of the clip will slide up into the channel here. Now there's some of the this vinyl piece that I just put on, there's some spots of it that have cutouts on it, so I'm going to go ahead and try to line these clips up with that cutout spot, and I'm going to put the clips on to the weather strip first, and then I'm going to try to push it in there and see if I can make this work. Hopefully you can follow what I was doing there. These are the clips. I had little marks on there. I just set it up under there and looked for the gaps that were in the trim, and just put the little clips in there. So I used the anvil here and just kind of pressed on it, and they just essentially, it snaps right in. It made a little pop. So that's pretty easy. One of the things that was happening to me is the bottom portion of the clip was gouging into the rubber piece. So I took one or two of them out and fixed that. But that's pretty straightforward and relatively easy to do. Now these things are flexible also, so that's they've got some give to them and everything like that. All right, so now we are ready to slide this into the door, and this is going to be the fun part. Well, that worked surprisingly well. I was just able to push in from the bottom, put big old creases in my arm, but there's enough opening there for me to do that. Hopefully I can do the other side like that as well. I'll tell you though, what makes me nervous is a lot of people said this was hard, and that wasn't that hard. So either because I got little skinny arms that I can get them in there and it's making it easier on me, or I'm doing it wrong and I should have the internals of the door in first. And I did look at that like I mentioned, so crossing my fingers. Change the perspective a little bit here so you can see better. So this is the outer seal, and I've started to put that on, and you can just barely see the silver, I hope, in there. That's the inner seal. So there's very little daylight between those two, and it's making me a little nervous, frankly, that the window is going to be a real pain in the rear to get in there, but that should bend enough. But you can see how nice and tight that is, so that actually makes me feel good that it'll actually provide some seal there. But these clips are not as easy, these little blue guys, unlike the other clips that had that extra little hanger, and then you just had to worry about getting the hanger attached to the weather strip, and then the hanger itself attached to the door. The weather strip wasn't directly connected. So what's happening now is this clip here has to go over the door and inside the outer seal, and it's just a real pain in the rear because the seal wants to move when you bang this up. So what I've done is I've got a hammer in here, a little mallet, that guy, and I'm just kind of lining the clips up and sliding them up the door and then banging them, and it seems to be working. But I've got 2 in there so far, 1 in the middle, 1 on this far end. I'm going to try to get this one in on this end over here, and then get the rest of the way. There's 7 of them, so several more to go here. There are little cutouts in this outer seal, so it's easy to line up. You can see where everything goes. I haven't messed up the paint yet, but it definitely on the inside there, you can see the tines on this thing are pretty sharp, and that's just destroying the paint on the inside flap. But you won't see it, and hopefully I'm not going to have problems with rust. So again, just continuing to put the hammer in here and seeing, crossing my fingers with each one. Got it all in. My kind of concerned, however, it's going to be kind of hard to show you. There's one of the clips right there. My concern is that it's going to scratch the glass. I don't think I put them in wrong, but that's, you know, that stuff's sticking out pretty good there. I'm not too sure. I don't think I can bend it any flatter than it is, because it's going to want to fan out, and I can't really get anything in there anyway. So yeah, that's that could suck. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on it and get the hardware installed inside here. I got it laying on the floor over there. Oops, sorry for the light. And see what happens. I got to find the glass. I think it's somewhere up in that mess. There's the window glass. Found it. You can see here that there's got the rubber still on the bottom of it. Now that's old and brittle and everything, and I've got a new piece for that. And also it's got a bunch of RTV silicone or something on there that the previous owner had put in just to try to make it fit or make it seal up or stick in the channel or something like that. So I am going to go ahead and clean this up, get that rubber off of there, and get it ready to get into the channel. So supposedly this car was from Georgia, Florida area, and looks like I got some beach sand there. So that's interesting. Gotta wonder how that happened to get beach sand in the bottom of the window channel. Moving on to the next step, got all the hardware here. We're going to try to get that in there and installed and bolted up right. Now this is a little bit like a puzzle. Everything has to actually go inside the door at the same time, if I remember correctly, and it all get fit up. The window here, these guides right in this channel here to keep the window straight as it runs up. So all that stuff needs to get fit in properly, and hopefully I can get it. Most of the door internals are in. You can watch here as I run up the windscreen, or the window. This is that channel that I was talking about that those run in. This is Dorothy's old nasty window crank. You can see how bad a shape that's in. But that just goes up like that, goes back down obviously. Pretty smooth. I haven't greased anything yet because I didn't want to get grease all over the place when I was trying to put it in, so I'll grease it when I get in the car. Nice little scratch there. Can't find the screws for holding on the burst plate here, kind of upsetting. But that's connected to this here, this rod and this circular thing, and that's on this bar here that goes all the way to the handle here. So that's oriented downward, which is appropriate. So when you're sitting in the car and you pull on the handle, you go like that and it opens, and I'll show you back here. So this little latch here is what will click onto the burst plate that's on the car. So when the door is shut, it looks like that. Sorry about the shadow there. And you can see that the thing is surrounded on both sides, so the the pin that's on the body will be inserted in between there. There's the pin that's on the body. So that'll be stuck in there, and that's what holds it in. And then when you pull backwards, back towards the back of the car on this, you'll see that the mechanism here will pull back, and you've got a little tab that fits into this portion here, and then it's also connected there with that little cotter pin thing. So now when I pull it back, you can see that that opens and then the door opens. Now obviously if this was screwed in, it would be a little easier. This here is the door handle, obviously, and when you press it in with your thumb, that pushes that 2 actuators in on there. And the way that that works is, again, we'll make it like we got the door shut here. So now you can see the door shut. And there's this little tab. You're not going to be able to see that. Hold on. There's a tab back here. This guy right here. You see my finger there? That little tab. And when this hole here, which you're not going to be able to really see, there's a hole here. That's where the door handle comes in from the exterior, and it pushes on this little tab here. So when that pushes up, and again, if this thing was screwed down, it'd be easier, but that pushes up, and that'll also pop. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it with it not screwed down. That'll also pop the door open. And then if you can see down in there, nope, you can't see that little rod that goes in there, and this little hole right here with all the white stuff around it, that's where the door lock goes. Here's the door lock, and you can see this little tab here, and when you turn the key, it just rotates this and locks and unlocks the door. So probably not very secure at all, but functional, maybe. So I'm going to put the glass in, I think, and see if it works. The door I expect to be quite a bit heavier now, but I'm probably going to be calling the door assembly at that point. I obviously can't put the door on until I get this thing figured out and get screws for that or find them, and I don't want to take any chance of scratching any paint or anything else. I'm sure I've already done some damage somewhere. Alright, we'll see if we can feed this window in here without messing stuff up. Another use for my trusty orange stick. Doesn't sound like it's rubbing on those clips. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. So the issue is that it's not staying in the channel, and it came, or at least from Rimmers, I ordered these rubber strips, and I think they're supposed to, I mean, that's what I took off of it. They're supposed to fold over like this. Way too thick. However, I need it at least maybe half of that to slide it in the channel. So I was kind of hoping to get away with it, but it would work, but it doesn't appear so. So I'm just going to take it out and do that, future me. But it doesn't appear. My fear was that it would scrape on the hooks in there. And that doesn't appear to be happening, so that's good. And everything still looks like it's installed, so that's good too. So I'm going to set the window aside for now, and probably move on to something else.